Welcome to One Way to Machines and the Volvo P1 series. In this video, we're going to discuss more items and go more in depth as to what's going on with them. Let's start with comparing the old hoses to the DO88 silicone hoses. So one more point of experiment on my car. This heat shield looking thing that comes on the stock pipe that you take off, it's kind of mangled on mine. I'm not going to take it off and replace it on the DO88, so let's see how that does with the heat. The DO88 kit, I got it online from V50 Performance. It does not come with silicone hose clamps, so you're going to need to get those separately, but we'll get into that later in the video. So just like what we had with the original one in the car, two of the hoses, the ones that go into the actual block, are smaller on one end than they are on the other. The DO88 is the same. Look at the imprints that the hose clamp has left on the original. We don't want this on the softer silicone hoses, which is why we're going to be using silicone specific hose clamps. Don't mind some of the plastic portions that are remaining from the old hoses that I didn't take off from the car. If you've watched the other portions, you're going to know what these extra sections are and that they are not the actual hose itself. But the DO88 stuff matches up pretty much the same size, maybe just a little bit bigger, smaller here and there, which kind of makes me happy that I did leave the plastic connectors on the firewall inside of the car. So this test on this car will continue like that. Those plastic pieces will stay in there and they'll get silicone hose clamps, and we'll see how well that does. Could these stretch all the way in and go on the actual metal piece that goes into the firewall? Probably. Do you want to be stretching hoses and possibly getting breaks where you don't want them? I've seen silicone hoses fail before in that way, so I'm not taking the risk, but it might be just fine to do that. The other reason that those plastic firewall pieces are still in there, like I said, because these are the same size as these, is because the brass connections, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen with the new gap that they're going to form. So these little gaps and stuff could build new bends. This might not be a big deal, it might be, but you can watch my car and make your own choices when you do it for yourself. Before we move on to some other stuff, just an empty washer fluid bottle is going to be good for mixing your concentrate and water when you go to refill, because I lost a lot more coolant than I thought. I talked about using pop bottles and paint cap cans. That's for a lot lighter coolant leaks and applications. So this is going to be the quickest for you to do it here. You probably can't see it on camera, but I've measured all of these hoses, and the inner diameter of the DO88 is 3/4 inner diameter when you go to buy your stuff. That is 3/4 times 6. 6 of the ends are 3/4. Then the two smaller ones are, the smaller ends are between 1/2 inch and 5/8. I'd say closer to 5/8. That's what I did my measurements based off of. And you'll be fine with that because you just have to have the right size clamps. You don't need any barbs for these. These go straight onto the block. So here is one of the stock hose clamps that came off of the car. If you look inside there, this stuff bites down on hoses, which is why you don't want to use normal hose clamps. What I will tell you is that these stock hose clamps will be at all of your local auto parts stores. I had a very annoying time going to multiple stores and they didn't have silicone specific ones. So don't waste your time with that like I did. I ended up buying them on Rock Auto, and I'll go over them. They're still not the type of silicone hose clamp I like to use, but these are decent and they will do. So let's move on to the hose clamps next. I'll bring the boxes closer to the camera so that you can see with the items. But when I got them in the mail today, I was a bit shocked because some of the information that's on the Rock Auto website is not on your order slip or on the box, so I'm going to read that off to you. So don't be shocked if there's a discrepancy between that. The Gates 32310 is listed on the Rock Auto site as fitting 3/8 to 5/8 inner diameter hose, and the clamping range is between 3/4 of an inch to 1 1/16 of an inch. The Gates 32312 on the website is listed as fitting a hose inner diameter 5/8 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch, and the clamping range is 11/16 of an inch to 1 1/4 of an inch. So, what are the discrepancies? The clamping range is listed differently on this box when I got it in the mail, but I popped it out and it does seem to go around the smaller hose. The larger size all match. The only thing was I made sure to get both of these because I wasn't sure if I could use one size hose clamp on both. You do have to buy 10. Each one is over $20 Canadian shipped. I can't tell you guys if you could get away with just one of these hose clamp sizes or the other, because I'm going to fit them onto the car and I'm going to use the bigger ones on the 3/4 ends and I'm going to use these on the 5/8 ends. So that's up to you if you want to take the gamble or just buy both. And these are things that you're going to use in the future anyways. Moving on to the brass hose barbs, I bought these off Amazon from the same supplier. No hardware store had them in this size in stock. They do have smaller ones. I've used brass barbs from shops to fix cars on smaller coolant pipes, but nobody had this in this size. So I got a bit fed up there. Finally on Amazon, I overpaid a little bit for this stuff, and even still, they are different sizes. I ordered the same part number from the same manufacturer and they're different sizes, but they're both 3/4. Through the bag I slipped them on. They seem like they're going to fit. And the specifications, what I can tell you is the product is from a company called Anderson Metals Brass Hose Fitting Union. And they just list that it's a 3/4 by 3/4 barb. They don't tell you inner, outer diameter, nothing. And I just took a gamble on this based on a review that someone said that they put these 3/4 hoses together with this product. So we're going to see if this stuff works when it comes down to it. You know what? I'll go ahead and actually do a quick test for you guys. We will install this on 2 of the hoses. This will give you a sense of the hose clamps and what might work and what might not. But I'm not going to tell you guys 100% on that. Just buy both of them. So things like this where products are different lengths, this combined with the slight different lengths of the DO88, this stuff could throw off stuff with the amount of aftermarket stuff going in there in terms of bending the hoses in awkward ways. Which is why those plastic ends being in there is good, but we will see, based on everything I've run into, what happens. Alright guys, so there is one of the fittings with the larger of the 2 hose clamps I showed you. This is from box 323112. I wouldn't use a smaller clamp, but you can tell that the clamp is quite wide compared to the barb surface. So you don't want to use too small of a barb, but I made sure to use a smaller one to see that all of this stuff fits. So anything from that Anderson company on Amazon should work fine. The important thing is that these hose clamps, even though you can see these little things in here where it tightens, it's completely smooth on the inside. Okay, there's no odd pinching pressure from any grooves on the inside. That's the way they're designed. If I can show you on camera, I will. But this is a nice tight fit, and we'll see how it performs on the car. So there is the inside of the hose clamp. You can see it's completely smooth. I am going to install all this stuff on the car, and I'll give you guys a report what's going on. Installation is the reverse of removal, which we've done in the past parts in this series. If anything goes wrong, if there's any odd fitment issues, I will make another video on this and in the next Volvo series or part that I do with that car, and an update or anything, I will show you what the inside of the engine bay looks like. I am also going to be installing a new expansion tank. I'm going to use the old cap. I'm going to make a separate video on this as to why I'm replacing it and other things that we might do, so check out that video as well. But the repair will include the changing of this tomorrow.